The alarm bells rang through the command center of the Volani Defense Fleet. Admiral Taman stood at the main display screen, watching red dots move across the star map. Each red dot was a Krovic warship. There were too many to count. "Sir, we have lost contact with the Helios station," reported Commander Boram, her voice tight with worry. "The Krovic fleet destroyed it completely." Taman closed his eyes for a moment. Helios station had been home to 50,000 Volani families. Now it was nothing but space dust and metal fragments floating in the dark. "How long until they reach Seralis Prime?" he asked. 72 hours, sir. Maybe less if they push their engines." The admiral looked around the command center. His officers were trying to stay calm, but he could see the fear in their eyes. The Krovic Empire had been moving through their space for 3 months now. 12 star systems had already fallen. Each time the same pattern. The Krovic ships would arrive, destroy all defenses, take anything useful, and leave nothing behind but empty planets. "What about our fleet?" Taman asked. "We have 87 ships ready for battle, sir. The Krovic force has over 1,000. The numbers were simple and terrible. The Volani defense fleet was strong, but not strong enough. Not even close. Taman had fought in wars before, but nothing like this. The Krovic didn't want to conquer planets or capture prisoners. They wanted to wipe out entire species, sir," another officer called out. "The Trilaxian government has sent a message. They wish us luck, but they cannot send help. They say fighting the Krovic would mean the end of their own people." Taman nodded. He understood. Every civilization in this part of the galaxy knew about the Krovic Empire. They had been expanding for 200 years. No one had ever stopped them. No one had even slowed them down. Most species just hoped the Krovic would go in a different direction. "What about the Zenthari Union?" he asked. "Same answer, sir. They are sorry, but they cannot risk their own worlds." Commander Boram walked over to stand beside the admiral. "Sir, we need to think about evacuation. If we start now, we might be able to get some of our people to safety." "Where would they go?" "The Krovic will not stop with Seralis Prime. They will keep moving until they own this entire sector of space." The command center fell quiet. Everyone knew the admiral was right. The Krovic Empire had never left a job half-finished. They would hunt down every Volani ship, every Volani colony, every Volani family. It was what they did. Taman stared at the star map. The red dots were getting closer to their home world. Seralis Prime was a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green continents. It had been the Volani home for 3,000 years. Soon it would be nothing but burned rock. "Sir," Communications Officer Junho spoke up. "Should we send out a general distress call? Maybe someone will answer." "Who would answer?" "We have already tried our neighbors." "They are too afraid." "Not just our neighbors, sir. I mean everyone. Send the message across all communication networks. Let the whole galaxy know what is happening here." Taman thought about it. It seemed pointless. Why would distant civilizations care about the Volani? Most of them probably had never heard of Seralis Prime. But what else could they do? "Fine," he said. "Send the message. But don't ask for much. We are not in a position to make demands." Junho sat down at his station and began typing. The message was simple and honest. The Volani were facing extinction. They were asking for any help that anyone could give. Medical supplies, transport ships for refugees, technology, anything at all. The message went out across the galaxy's communication networks. It would take hours or days to reach distant civilizations. Most would probably ignore it. Some might feel sorry for the Volani, but do nothing. A few might send supplies if they had any to spare. Taman did not expect much. The galaxy was a big place, but it was also a dangerous one. Most species were too busy protecting themselves to worry about strangers. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Captain Sora Kim was having a normal day. Her ship, the New Soul, was carrying medical supplies to a human colony on the edge of known space. It was routine work, but Sora enjoyed it. She liked helping people. Sora was young for a ship captain, only 32 years old. She had worked hard to earn her position. The New Soul was not a warship. It was a diplomatic vessel, designed for peaceful missions. Sora preferred it that way. She had seen enough fighting during the border conflicts 5 years ago. "Captain," called out Communications Officer Dae-hyun, "we are receiving a distress signal. It's on the general emergency frequency." "From where?" "The Volani Coalition. It's about 400 light-years from here." Sora frowned. She had heard of the Volani. They were a peaceful people, mostly farmers and scientists. Earth had traded with them before. "What do they need?" Dae-hyun listened to the message again. They say they are under attack by something called the Krovic Empire. They are asking for any help that anyone can give. Play the message. The voice that came through the speakers was tired and scared. Admiral Taman spoke in simple galactic standard, the language most ships used for communication. He explained about the Krovic attacks. He talked about the destroyed colonies and the fleet heading for their homeworld. He asked for help, but he did not sound like he expected to get any. Sora listened to the whole message. When it ended, she was quiet for a moment. "Captain?" Daehyun asked. "Should we respond?" "Yes," Sora said. "Tell them we received their message. Tell them we are forwarding it to Earth Command immediately. Are we going to help them?" Sora thought about the question. The New Soul was just one small ship. What could they do against an empire? But the Vellani had helped humanity once. During the food crisis 3 years ago, they had shared their farming technology. Many human colonies would have starved without that help. "Send the message to Earth," she said. "Let them decide." The message traveled from the New Soul to Earth at the speed of light through the quantum communication network. It reached Earth Command in just a few minutes. Fleet Admiral Dongwoo Park was in a meeting when his aide brought him the urgent message. Admiral Park read the message twice. Then he called for an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. Within an hour, the most important military leaders on Earth were sitting around a table, discussing what to do about the Vellani crisis. "The Vellani are 400 light-years away," said General Kyung-soo, head of Earth's ground forces. "Even if we sent help, it would take days to get there." "The Krovic Empire," added Intelligence Director Hee-jin. "I have been reading our files on them. They are not just raiders. They completely destroy every civilization they attack. No survivors, no prisoners." Admiral Park nodded. "I remember the Vellani food aid. They saved a lot of human lives during the crisis. They didn't ask for anything in return. That was just farming technology," General Kyung-soo pointed out. "This is asking us to fight a war against an empire we know nothing about." "It's not asking us to fight a war," corrected Defense Minister Young-mi. "They are just asking for any help we can give. Maybe some supplies or transport ships." Admiral Park was quiet for a long time. He thought about the Vellani farmers who had shared their knowledge freely. He thought about human colonies that were alive today because of Vellani generosity. He thought about what it meant to be a friend. "The Vellani helped us when we needed it," he said finally. "Now they need help. What kind of people would we be if we turned our backs on them?" "But sir," General Kyung-soo said, "we don't know anything about this Krovic Empire. We could be sending our ships into a trap. Then we learn about them. Fast." Admiral Park turned to Intelligence Director Hye-jin. "I want everything we can find about the Krovic. Ship designs, weapons, tactics, everything." "Yes, sir. And I want a fleet ready to leave for Vellani space within 48 hours. The room fell silent. General Kyung-soo stared at the Admiral. "Sir, did you say a fleet?" "I did. How big of a fleet?" Admiral Park smiled for the first time since the meeting began. "All of it." The message went out from Earth Command at exactly 14:30 Universal Time. It was short and simple, but it changed everything. All human ships, all human colonies, all human forces. Emergency mobilization order. The Vellani coalition needs our help. Report for duty immediately. Captain Jae-ho-na was eating lunch on his battlecruiser Incheon's Fury when the message arrived. He was the commander of the 3rd Heavy Fleet, one of Earth's most powerful military groups. His ship was huge, almost 2 kilometers long, with enough weapons to destroy a small moon. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we have received mobilization orders from Earth Command." Jae-ho put down his food and walked to the bridge. "What's the situation?" "Unknown enemy called the Krovic Empire is attacking the Vellani. Admiral Park wants all available ships ready for combat operations." Jae-ho nodded. He had heard about the Vellani. Good people. They had helped humanity during hard times. "How long do we have?" 48 hours to reach the gathering point near Jupiter. Signal the fleet. All ships prepare for immediate departure." The Incheon's Fury was not alone. Across human space, similar messages were being received on hundreds of ships. But this mobilization was different from anything that had happened before. Usually, Earth Command called up specific fleets for specific missions. This time, they were calling everyone. On the mining station, Kepler Prime, Foreman Minji Lee got the message while she was deep underground checking the fusion reactors. Minji was not a soldier. She was an engineer who kept the mining equipment running. But the message said all humans, and Minji was definitely human. "Boss," called her assistant Wu Jin. "Are you going to answer the call?" Minji looked around at the massive mining equipment. The station had 12 big cargo ships that carried metal ore to other colonies. They were not warships, but they were tough and strong. "Yes," she said. "But first we need to make some changes to these ships." Within 6 hours, Minji and her team were welding weapon mounts onto the cargo ships. They took mining lasers and turned them into ship weapons. They took the heavy shields that protected the ships from asteroid impacts and made them stronger. The cargo ships were becoming warships. "This is crazy," Wu Jin said as he watched Minji work. "We don't know how to fight in space battles." "We know how to work together," Minji replied. "We know how to fix things when they break. We know how to get jobs done. That's enough." All across human space, the same thing was happening. On New Tokyo Colony, the defense fleet was getting ready to leave. On Mars, the orbital shipyards were sending their newest battleships. On Europa Station, even the police patrol boats were being fitted with better weapons. But the most surprising responses came from the civilian ships. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, research vessels, even some private yachts. Their captains were sending messages to Earth Command saying they wanted to help. "We can't arm civilian ships," General Kyung-soo argued in the Earth Command meeting room. "They have no military training. They will just get in the way." "They want to help," Admiral Park replied. "The Volani helped us. Now every human wants to return the favor." "But sir, some of these ships are just cargo haulers. What use are they in a battle?" Intelligence Director Hyejin looked up from her datapad. "Actually, sir, I think we can use them. I have been studying the Krovik Empire. They have never fought anyone like us." "What do you mean?" "The Krovik expect traditional fleet battles. Big ships fighting big ships in organized formations. They have never faced an enemy that uses different kinds of ships working together." Admiral Park was interested. "Explain." "Cargo ships can carry supplies and reinforcements. Research vessels have advanced sensors that can help us understand Krovik technology. Even passenger ships can be used to evacuate wounded crew members from damaged warships." The Admiral thought about it. "So you're saying we turn this into something the Krovik have never seen before?" "Exactly, sir. They expect a military fleet. Instead, we give them an entire civilization." Back on the Incheon's Fury, Captain Jeho was watching the gathering of ships near Jupiter. He had expected to see the usual suspects: battleships, cruisers, destroyers. What he saw was much more. There were military ships, yes, hundreds of them, but there were also cargo vessels with weapon systems welded to their hulls. There were research ships with powerful sensors. There were even some luxury cruise ships that had been turned into medical vessels. "Captain," his first officer Sung Min reported, "fleet count is now at 1,200 ships and still growing." "Still growing?" "Yes, sir. More ships are arriving every hour. The Outer Rim colonies are sending everything they have." Jeho looked at the display screen. He had never seen so many human ships in one place. "Any word from Admiral Park about our mission?" "He's on his way from Earth, sir. Should arrive within the hour." When Admiral Park's command ship arrived, he immediately called a meeting of all ship captains. The meeting had to be held virtually because there were too many captains to fit in one room. Over 3,000 human ship commanders listened as Admiral Park explained the situation. "The Volani coalition is facing extinction," he began. "An empire called the Krovik is destroying everything in their path. They have superior numbers and superior technology, but they have never fought humans." The virtual meeting room was quiet. Every captain was listening carefully. "Our mission is simple," Admiral Park continued. "We are going to Volani space. We are going to stop the Krovik Empire. We are going to save our friends." Captain Sora Kim, still on her diplomatic ship New Seoul, raised her hand. "Sir, what about the distance? Volani space is 400 light-years away." "Chief Engineer Minji Lee has been working on that problem," Admiral Park replied. "Minji, please explain." Minji appeared on the screen. She looked tired but excited. "We have been upgrading the jump drives on as many ships as possible. Using new quantum field generators, we can reduce travel time to 60 hours. 60 hours? Asked Captain Jeho. "That's much faster than normal." "Yes, but there's a risk. The new system puts a lot of stress on ship engines. Some vessels might not survive the journey." Admiral Park nodded. "That's a risk we have to take. The Volani don't have time for us to travel the safe way." Captain Hyunwoo of the cargo ship Seoul Express spoke up. "Sir, what about supplies? This fleet is huge. We'll need fuel, food, ammunition, everything." Already planned, said Admiral Park. We're bringing our own supply chain. Cargo ships, fuel tankers, food processing vessels, even mobile repair stations. This fleet doesn't just fight, it sustains itself. The meeting continued for 2 hours. Admiral Park explained the battle plan, the supply system, the communication network. But most importantly, he explained why they were doing this. The Volani helped us when we needed it, he said. They didn't ask for payment. They didn't ask for treaties. They helped us because it was the right thing to do. Now it's our turn. Dr. Hyojin had been working nonstop since the crisis began. She was Earth's expert on alien military technology, and she was trying to learn everything possible about the Krovic Empire. What she found was both impressive and frightening. The Krovic have been expanding for 2 centuries, she explained to Admiral Park. They have conquered 47 different civilizations. Their strategy is always the same: overwhelming force followed by complete destruction. What about their weaknesses? That's the problem, sir. They don't seem to have any obvious weaknesses. Their ships are heavily armored. Their weapons are powerful. Their tactics are proven, Admiral Park frowned. There has to be something. Well, there is one thing. The Krovic have never faced an enemy that fights the way we do. How do we fight? Dr. Hyojin smiled. Chaotically, sir. The Krovic expect organized fleets with clear command structures. They expect enemies to fight like they do. Big ships in formation following traditional naval tactics. And we don't do that? Sir, look at our fleet. We have military battleships next to converted cargo haulers. We have research vessels working with fighter squadrons. We have mining ships that have been turned into weapons platforms. The Krovic have never seen anything like this. Admiral Park was beginning to understand. So our biggest weakness might actually be our biggest strength. Exactly, sir. The Krovic will expect us to fight like a traditional space navy. Instead, we're going to fight like humans. As the fleet prepared to leave, word spread through human space about what was happening. On Earth, people gathered around news screens to watch the ships depart. On Mars, families said goodbye to relatives heading to war. On the outer colonies, everyone who couldn't go sent supplies and equipment. But the most important thing was the attitude of the human crews. They weren't going to war because Earth Command ordered them to. They were going because the Volani needed help, and humans helped their friends. Captain J-Ho looked around the bridge of the Incheon's Fury. His crew was ready. The ship was ready. The entire human fleet was ready, sir, reported Seung-min.
Final fleet count is 3,800 ships.
All vessels report ready for departure. Admiral Park's voice came over the communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Park. We are going to help our friends. We are going to show the galaxy what humans do when people we care about are in danger. All ships, prepare for jump. The largest fleet in human history disappeared from the solar system in a flash of light, heading toward a battle that Admiral Taemin had not slept in 36 hours. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with tired eyes. The red dots representing Krovic ships were getting closer to Seralis Prime. His own blue dots looked so small in comparison. Sir, Commander Boram reported. The outer defense platforms are under attack. Platform 7 has gone silent, Taemin nodded. He had expected this. The Krovic always started by destroying the orbital defenses. Then they would attack the ships. Finally, they would burn the planet. It was always the same pattern. How many Krovic ships? He asked. 1,043, sir. They are arranged in standard attack formation. Taemin looked at his own fleet. 87 ships. Some of them were old. Many of them had been damaged in previous battles. They were brave ships with brave crews, but they were not enough. Sir, Communications Officer Jun-ho called out. The automated distress beacon is still active. We have received acknowledgement from one source. Who? Human ship New Soul. They say they forwarded our message to their government. Taemin almost smiled. At least someone had heard their call for help. He did not expect much from one human ship, but it was good to know that someone in the galaxy cared about the Volani. Any response from the human government? Not yet, sir. On the planet below, millions of Volani families were preparing for the worst. Some were trying to evacuate to underground shelters. Others were packing their belongings, hoping to escape on the few transport ships available. Most were simply staying in their homes, holding their loved ones close. Dr. Sung-ho, the chief scientist on Seralis Prime, was in his laboratory trying to save as much Volani knowledge as possible. He was copying important research data onto small storage devices that could be hidden or smuggled away. The Krovik destroyed everything, but maybe some Volani science could survive. Doctor, his assistant Mi-young said, the transport ships are almost full. There's room for a few more people. You go, Sung-ho replied. I need to finish this. But sir, the Krovik will be here soon. Then I better work faster. In space above the planet, the battle was beginning. The Krovik fleet moved forward like a giant machine. Their ships were massive, each one over a kilometer long. They had thick armor and powerful weapons. They had conquered 47 civilizations with these ships. Admiral Taemin watched them approach. All ships prepare for battle. Remember, we are fighting for our home. The Volani fleet moved to meet the enemy. Their ships were smaller and faster than the Krovik vessels, but they were greatly outnumbered. The first exchange of weapons fire lit up the space around Seralis Prime. 3 Volani destroyers attacked a Krovik dreadnought. Their energy beams hit the massive ship's shields, causing bright flashes of light, but the Krovik ship barely slowed down. Its return fire destroyed one of the destroyers instantly. We're losing ships too fast, Commander Boram reported. At this rate, the fleet will be gone in 2 hours. Taemin knew she was right. The Krovik had better ships, better weapons, and many more vessels. The Volani were fighting bravely, but courage alone was not enough. Sir, Junho suddenly called out, I'm detecting something strange. There are energy readings coming from the edge of the system. What kind of energy readings? Jump signatures, sir. Something big is coming out of hyperspace. Taemin felt a moment of hope. Maybe one of their allies had changed their mind. Maybe the Trilaxians or the Zenthari had decided to help after all. Then space exploded with light. It was not one ship that came out of hyperspace. It was not 10 ships. It was not even 100 ships. Thousands of vessels appeared at the edge of the Seralis system all at the same time. The light from their engines was so bright that it could be seen from the planet's surface. What in the name of the ancestors is that? Commander Boram whispered. Taemin stared at the tactical display. The computer was having trouble counting all the new contacts. 1,000 ships. 2,000. 3,000. The numbers kept climbing. Sir, Junho said in a shocked voice, I'm receiving a communication from the new fleet. It's from the humans. The humans? But we only heard from one human ship. This is Captain Sora Kim of the human vessel New Seoul, came a calm voice over the communication system. We are responding to your distress call. Volani ships, please move to a safe distance. We will handle this situation. Taemin could not speak. He looked at his tactical display again. The computer had finally finished counting. 4,000 human ships had just arrived in the Seralis system. They were forming a defensive line between the Krovik fleet and the planet. The Krovik fleet had stopped moving. Their commanders were probably as shocked as Taemin was. They had come to destroy a small defense fleet. Instead, they found themselves facing an armada larger than their own. This is impossible, Commander Boram said. How did they get so many ships here so fast? Sir, another officer reported. The human fleet is moving into position. They have battleships, carriers, destroyers, cruisers, but also ships I don't recognize. Cargo vessels, research ships, even what looks like passenger liners. Taemin finally found his voice. Get me a communication link with the human commander. A few moments later, a new voice came over the speakers. It was strong and confident. This is Fleet Admiral Dongwoo Park of the Terran Defense Fleet. Admiral Taemin, I presume. Yes, Taemin replied. Admiral Park, we are grateful for your response, but you should know the Krovik Empire has over 1,000 ships. They are extremely dangerous. We know about the Krovik, Admiral Park replied. We came prepared. Prepared? Admiral, there are so many of them. We only asked for supplies, maybe some transport ships. There was a pause. Then Admiral Park's voice came back, and Taemin could hear something like amusement in it. Admiral Taemin, when humans make friends, we don't send token help. We send everything we have. Taemin looked at the tactical display again. 4,000 human ships were now arranged in a complex formation around Seralis Prime. The Krovik fleet, which had seemed so overwhelming just minutes ago, was actually smaller than the human armada. Admiral Park, Taemin said slowly, what exactly are you planning to do? We're going to save your planet, came the simple reply. And then we're going to make sure the Krovik Empire understands that attacking our friends was a mistake. On the flagship of the Krovik fleet, Supreme Commander Vex Kalar was staring at his own tactical display with growing anger and confusion. He had conquered 47 civilizations. He had destroyed hundreds of planets. He had never seen anything like this. Where did these ships come from? He demanded. Unknown, Supreme Commander, his aide replied nervously. They appeared without warning. Our sensors show they are from a species called humans. Humans? I have never heard of them. Neither have we, sir. They are not in our database of known civilizations. Vex Kalar studied the human fleet formation. It was unlike anything he had seen before. There were obvious warships, yes, but there were also vessels that looked like cargo haulers and research ships. Some of the ships seemed to be civilian vessels that had been hastily armed. This makes no sense, he muttered. Why would an unknown species send their entire fleet to defend someone else's planet?
Perhaps they are allied with the Villani, sir?
No. Our intelligence report said the Villani had no significant allies. Yet here is a fleet larger than our own. Vex Kalar was confused, but he was not worried. Numbers alone did not win battles. The Krovic had superior technology, superior training, and superior experience. These humans, whoever they were, had made a mistake by challenging the Empire. All ships, he commanded. Prepare for battle. Show these humans what happens to those who interfere with the Krovic Empire. But as the Krovic fleet began to move forward, something unexpected happened. A single human voice came over the open communication channel, speaking in perfect Krovic language. This is Fleet Admiral Dongwu Park of the Terran Defense Fleet. I am speaking to the commander of the Krovic forces. Vex Kalar was surprised. How did the humans know the Krovic language? How did they even know about the Krovic Empire? I am Supreme Commander Vex Kalar, he replied. You will withdraw your ships immediately or face destruction. Commander Vex Kalar, Admiral Park's voice was calm and polite. You have attacked our friends. This was an error in judgment. I am giving you one opportunity to withdraw your forces and leave this system. Vex Kalar laughed. You dare threaten the Krovic Empire? We have conquered 47 civilizations. We have destroyed hundreds of worlds. What makes you think your pathetic fleet can stop us? There was a long pause. When Admiral Park spoke again, his voice had changed. It was no longer polite. It was cold and hard. Commander Vex Kalar, you just made two mistakes. First, you called our friends pathetic. Second, you called our fleet pathetic. We take both of those as insults, so now we're not just here to defend Seralis Prime. Now we're here to teach you some manners. The communication channel went silent. Vex Kalar stared at his tactical display. The human ships were moving into new positions. Their formation was changing into something he had never seen before. For the first time in his long military career, Supreme Commander Vex Kalar felt a small touch of uncertainty. The battle began exactly as Supreme Commander Vex Kalar expected it would. The Krovic fleet moved forward in their standard attack formation. 1,000 massive warships advancing in perfect lines, their weapons charging up for the devastating first strike that had broken 47 civilizations, but the human response was not what Vex Kalar expected at all. Instead of meeting the Krovic charge with their own battle line, the human fleet scattered. Ships broke away from the main formation and spread out across space in what looked like complete chaos. Some ships moved up, some moved down, some moved to the sides. There was no pattern that Vex Kalar could understand. What are they doing? He asked his tactical officer. Unknown, Supreme Commander. Their formation makes no military sense. Captain J. Ho-Na, commanding the human flagship Inchin's Fury, watched his tactical display with satisfaction. The Krovic were doing exactly what Dr. Hyojin had predicted they would do. They were fighting like every other enemy the Empire had faced. All ships, he commanded. Execute pattern Delta 7. Remember, we are not here to fight fair. We are here to win. The human fleet's chaotic movement was not chaos at all. It was a carefully planned strategy that took advantage of something the Krovic had never encountered before. Diversity. The massive human battleships like Inchin's Fury stayed back and used their heavy weapons to attack the Krovic dreadnoughts. But the smaller ships, including the converted cargo vessels and mining ships, darted between the enemy formations like angry insects. Engineer Minji Lee, commanding the converted mining ship Seoul Express, led a group of 12 cargo haulers straight into the middle of the Krovic formation. Her ships were not fast or heavily armed, but they were incredibly tough. Mining ships had to survive asteroid impacts and solar radiation. Krovic weapons were powerful, but they were designed to fight other warships, not industrial vessels. All cargo ships, Minji called over the communication channel. Use the mining lasers, target their shield generators. The mining lasers had been designed to cut through solid rock. They worked very well on Krovik shield systems too. As the cargo ships flew between the massive enemy vessels, they fired their lasers at specific targets that Dr. Hyojin had identified as weak points. Supreme Commander Vex Kalar watched in growing frustration as his perfectly organized fleet was being attacked by what looked like civilian ships. How are cargo vessels penetrating our defenses? Sir, his tactical officer replied nervously. They are not acting like cargo vessels. They are attacking our shield generators with industrial cutting tools. Destroy them. We are trying, sir. But they are very hard to hit. They keep moving in unpredictable patterns. This was another thing Dr. Hyojin had discovered about the Krovik. Their weapons were designed for traditional space battles, where large ships fought other large ships in predictable formations. The Krovik had powerful guns, but they were not very good at hitting small, fast-moving targets. Meanwhile, Captain Sora Kim in the New Seoul was leading a group of research vessels in a completely different kind of attack. The research ships had the most advanced sensors in the human fleet. They were using these sensors to study Krovik technology in real time. We're learning how their weapons work, Sora reported to Admiral Park. Their energy weapons have a charge-up time of 3.7 seconds. Their missile systems take 8.2 seconds to lock onto targets. Can we use that information? Already are, sir. Sending targeting data to all fighter squadrons now. The human fighter pilots received the sensor data and immediately changed their attack patterns. Instead of flying in straight lines, they flew in precisely timed spirals that matched the Krovik weapon system's reload times. The fighters would attack, dodge away during the 3.7-second charge time, attack again and dodge again. To the Krovik, it looked like the human pilots could see into the future. But the real shock came when the Krovik tried their most feared weapon, the Annihilation Wave, the Krovik Dreadnought. Eternal Darkness was the largest ship in their fleet. Its main weapon was a planet-killing energy beam that could destroy entire cities with a single shot. No civilization had ever survived the Annihilation Wave. Supreme Commander Vex Kalar gave the order personally. Charge the Annihilation Wave, target the human flagship. The massive weapon began to charge up. Energy readings spiked across all sensors. Every ship in the battle detected the enormous power building up in the Krovik Dreadnought. Captain Jae-ho Na saw the energy readings on his screen. All ships, he called out. Krovik superweapon is charging. All vessels, execute emergency protocol Omega. What happened next was something the Krovik had never seen before. 300 human ships suddenly changed course and flew directly toward the Eternal Darkness. They formed a barrier between the Krovik Dreadnought and the rest of the human fleet. These ships included battle cruisers, destroyers, cargo haulers, research vessels, and even some passenger liners that had been converted into medical ships. What are they doing? Vex Keller demanded. The Annihilation Wave fired. The planet-killing beam hit the wall of human ships with incredible force. The first ships in line took the full impact. Their shields overloaded, their armor melted, their hulls cracked open. 20 ships were destroyed instantly, but the ships behind them absorbed more of the beam. And the ships behind those absorbed even more. The 300 human vessels shared the massive energy load between them, each ship taking part of the blast that would have destroyed any single vessel. When the light faded, 140 human ships had been destroyed or heavily damaged, but the Annihilation Wave had been stopped completely. The rest of the human fleet was unharmed. More importantly, the 300 ships had bought time for the human engineers to do something incredible. Engineer Minji, Lee and her team had been studying the energy readings from the Annihilation Wave. In the 30 seconds while the weapon was charging, they had figured out how it worked. And they had designed a counterweapon. All ships with mining lasers, Minji called out. Synchronize your targeting systems. We are going to try something new. 50 converted cargo ships and mining vessels turned their industrial lasers toward the Eternal Darkness. But instead of firing randomly, they coordinated their shots with perfect timing. All 50 lasers hit the exact same spot on the Krovik Dreadnought's hull at exactly the same moment. The combined force of 50 mining lasers, each one designed to cut through solid asteroid rock, punched straight through the Eternal Darkness's armor. The ship's main reactor was hit directly. The massive Krovik Dreadnought exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. Supreme Commander Vex Kalar stared at his tactical display in shock. His most powerful ship was gone, destroyed by what his intelligence had told him were civilian cargo vessels. But the humans were not finished. Dr. He-Jin, working from her command ship, had been analyzing Krovik fleet communications. She had discovered that the Krovik used a centralized command system. All their ships took orders from flagship commanders who took orders from Vex Kalar himself. "Admiral Park," she reported, "I think I know how to end this battle quickly." "How?" "The Krovik command structure is completely centralized. If we can disable their command ships, the rest of their fleet will be confused and disorganized." "Which ships are the command vessels?" "The 5 largest ships in their formation. They're the ones with the most communication equipment." Admiral Park smiled. "All ships, new target priority. Focus fire on the Krovik command vessels. Let's cut off their head." The human fleet immediately changed tactics. Instead of attacking the entire Krovik formation, they concentrated their fire on just 5 ships. Battleships, fighters, cargo vessels, research ships, even the medical vessels joined the attack. The first Krovik command ship was overwhelmed by fire from 60 human vessels at once. The second fell to a coordinated attack by fighter squadrons. The third was destroyed when a damaged human destroyer rammed into it at full speed. Supreme Commander Vex Kalar watched his fleet fall apart. Without their command ships, individual Krovik vessels were making their own decisions. Some tried to retreat. Others kept fighting. A few just stopped moving entirely, waiting for orders that would never come. "Sir," his aide said quietly, "perhaps we should consider withdrawal." Vex Kalar looked at the tactical display. He had started the battle with 1,043 ships. He now had less than 400 still fighting. The humans had lost ships too, but they were still organized, still coordinated, still attacking. For the first time in 200 years of conquest, a Krovik commander was losing a battle. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the humans are sending another message." Admiral Park's voice came over the communication channel. "Commander Vex Kalar, you have lost this battle. Order your ships to retreat now, or we will destroy every single one of them." Vex Kalar was silent for a long moment. His pride told him to keep fighting. His training told him to never surrender. But his experience told him that continuing this battle would mean the complete destruction of his fleet. "All ships," he said quietly, "begin retreat. All ships withdraw from the system immediately." The surviving Krovik vessels turned and fled toward the edge of the system, but Admiral Park was not going to let them escape easily. "All ships," he commanded. "Pursuit formation. We're going to make sure they understand this lesson completely." The chase lasted for 18 hours. Admiral Park was not content to simply drive the Krovik fleet away from Seralis Prime. He wanted to make sure they understood that attacking humanity's friends was the biggest mistake they had ever made. The human fleet followed the retreating Krovik ships across 3 star systems. Every time the Krovik tried to stop and regroup, human fighters would attack their flanks. Every time they tried to make a stand, human battleships would break their formations. The mighty Krovik Empire, which had conquered 47 civilizations, was running away from an enemy they had never heard of 6 months ago. Supreme Commander Vex Kalar sat in his command chair, watching his fleet fall apart. He had started with over 1,000 ships. Now he had less than 300, and many of those were damaged. The humans were relentless. They attacked constantly, never giving the Krovik time to rest or reorganize. "Sir," his aide reported, "the humans have destroyed our supply depot in the Kilo system." "What about the shipyard in Nexus 7? "Also destroyed, sir. They hit it 2 hours ago." Vex Kalar closed his eyes. The humans were not just chasing his fleet. They were systematically destroying every Krovik military installation in the region. Supply depots, shipyards, communication stations, fuel refineries. Everything the Empire needed to continue its expansion was being wiped out. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "the humans are sending another message." Admiral Park's voice came over the communication system. It was calm and professional, which somehow made it more frightening. "Commander Vex Kalar, this is your final warning. Take your remaining ships and leave this sector of space immediately. Do not return. Do not attack any more civilizations in this region. If we see Krovik ships here again, we will assume you have forgotten this lesson and we will have to teach it to you again." Vex Kalar wanted to respond with anger and threats, but he looked at his tactical display and saw the truth. His fleet was broken. His supply lines were cut. His forward bases were destroyed. The Krovic Empire's expansion in this direction was finished. All ships, he said finally, set course for home territory. Maximum speed. The surviving Krovic vessels jumped to hyperspace, fleeing toward the heart of their empire. The humans did not follow them. They had made their point. Captain J. Ho-Na stood on the bridge of the Inchen's Fury, watching the last Krovic ships disappear. "Sir," he reported to Admiral Park, "enemy fleet has retreated beyond our sensor range. They appear to be heading for the galactic core." "Good," Admiral Park replied. "All ships return to Seralis Prime. We have some friends to check on." The journey back to the Volani homeworld took 6 hours. When the human fleet arrived, they found Admiral Taman waiting for them with what remained of the Volani defense fleet. The Volani ships looked tiny next to the massive human armada, but they formed an honor guard as the humans approached the planet. "Admiral Park," Taman's voice came over the communication channel. How can we ever thank you?" "No thanks needed," Admiral Park replied. "You helped us when we needed it. Now we helped you. That's what friends do." Captain So-Ra Kim brought her ship, the New Soul, close to Admiral Taman's flagship. She had been the first human to receive the Volani distress call, and she wanted to meet the admiral who had sent it. Taman came aboard the New Soul along with Commander Boram and Dr. Sung Ho, the chief scientist who had survived the battle by staying in his laboratory. They met in the ship's main conference room. "I must ask," Taman said to So-Ra. "When we sent our distress call, we were hoping for maybe some medical supplies or transport ships. We never imagined that an entire fleet would come to help us." So-Ra smiled. "Admiral, you don't understand how humans think about friendship. When the Volani shared their farming technology with us during the food crisis, you saved millions of human lives. You didn't ask for payment. You didn't demand treaties or trade agreements. You just helped because it was the right thing to do. But that was just agricultural knowledge. This was risking your entire fleet. To us, there's no difference. You were our friends. Friends help each other." Dr. Sung Ho leaned forward. "Captain Kim, I have been studying the battle records. Your fleet fought in a way I have never seen before. Your ships seem to work together without any central coordination. How is that possible?" "We call it organized chaos," So-Ra explained. "Each ship captain knows the overall plan, but they are free to make their own decisions about how to carry out their part. It confuses enemies who expect rigid command structures. But how do you prevent your ships from interfering with each other?" So-Ra thought about how to explain it. "We train together. We trust each other. Every human ship captain knows that the others will do their job, so they focus on doing their own job well. It works because we all want the same thing, to protect our friends." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the news of the victory was spreading rapidly. Admiral Park had sent a message explaining what had happened. The entire human fleet had traveled 400 light years, defeated the mighty Krovic Empire, and saved an entire civilization. But the news was spreading beyond human space too. Other civilizations were learning about the battle. The story was simple but shocking. When their friends were threatened, the humans had sent everything they had. Dr. Hye-Jin was compiling her final report on the Krovic Empire when Admiral Park contacted her. "Doctor, I need your analysis. What do you think this victory means for the galaxy?" "Sir, I think we have changed everything. The Krovic expansion was based on a simple idea, that civilizations will only fight when they have something personal to gain. They attacked weaker species because they believed no one would risk their own ships to help strangers, and we proved them wrong. More than that, sir, we showed the entire galaxy that there is an alternative to the Krovic way of thinking. Other civilizations are going to notice." Dr. Hye-Jin was right. Within days of the battle, messages began arriving at Earth from dozens of different species. The Trilaxian government, which had refused to help the Volani, sent a formal request for a defense alliance with humanity. The Zenthari Union offered to share their advanced shield technology in exchange for human protection. But the most surprising message came from a species called the Andromedans, who lived on the far side of the galaxy. They had heard about the battle and wanted to know if the rumors were true. Had humanity really sent their entire fleet to save allies they barely knew? Admiral Park responded personally to the Andromedan message. "Yes, the rumors are true. We sent everything we had because the Volani are our friends. That's what humans do." The Andromedan response was immediate. We wish to be friends with humans too. Within 6 months, humanity had received 47 requests for defense alliances. Species that had never heard of Earth were asking to become human allies. The galaxy had learned a simple lesson. Humans protect their friends no matter what the cost. The Krovic Empire, meanwhile, was dealing with a very different problem. News of their defeat had spread through their territory as well. For the first time in 200 years, Krovic expansion had been not just stopped but reversed. Their fleet had been beaten, their forward bases destroyed, their reputation shattered. Worse, other civilizations were no longer afraid of them. The Krovic had built their empire on fear, on the belief that resistance was hopeless. But the humans had shown that the empire could be defeated. Rebellions began breaking out in Krovic territory. Species that had been conquered decades ago saw their chance for freedom. The empire found itself fighting on dozens of fronts as their former victims rose up against them. Supreme Commander Vex Kalar was relieved of his command and exiled to a remote moon. His replacement, Supreme Commander Torvak, was tasked with rebuilding the Krovic military. But Torvak knew the truth. The age of easy conquest was over. Back on Seralis Prime, life was slowly returning to normal. The orbital defense platforms were being rebuilt. The cities were repairing the damage from the brief bombardment. Most importantly, the Volani people were alive and free. Admiral Timon stood in his office looking out at the blue sky of his homeworld. Commander Boram entered with a message pad. "Sir, we have received the final casualty reports from the battle. How many ships did we lose?" 19 vessels, sir. But that's not the remarkable number. The humans lost over 200 ships saving our planet. 200 ships and thousands of crew members, all to protect people they had never met. Taman nodded slowly. "And they call it just being friends." "Sir, there's something else. The human government has sent a formal proposal. They want to establish a permanent defense pact with the Volani coalition." "What are the terms?" "That's the strange part, sir. They're not asking for anything. No trade agreements, no territorial concessions, no technology sharing. They just want to promise that if we are ever threatened again, they will come to help us." Taman smiled. "Accept the proposal immediately." As the weeks passed, the galaxy continued to change. The defeat of the Krovic Empire had created a power vacuum that humanity was uniquely positioned to fill. But instead of conquest, humans offered partnership. Instead of demanding tribute, they offered protection. The human defense network grew rapidly. Species yo